We are back on Get Up. Seattle, your Super Bowl champions. How did it happen? Well, the magical run certainly starts with their defense. Last night, able to pressure Drake Maye 19 times, and it felt like it was at least twice that many. The Patriots totaled 24 yards on those 19 plays. Maye was sacked 6 times. 5 of those came on plays with only a 4-man rush. Defeating Maye, who was the MVP runner-up, comes on the heels of defeating the actual MVP and Matthew Stafford in the NFC title game. Stafford, of course, did have a great game, but Seattle held him scoreless in the fourth quarter. And then going back to the start of the postseason, Seattle dominant in all 3 phases. Offense averaging over 33 points a game. Jason Myers, 19 kicks, all of them true. And defense was nasty, totaling 9 sacks and 7 turnovers. So what does this mean? It means Seattle was dominant this year. How do they stack up for next year? Well, according to DraftKings Sportsbook, they are co-favorites with the Rams to win Super Bowl 61. While it's very early, it's worth noting that on DraftKings, neither Seattle nor New England are currently favored to win their respective divisions next year. The Rams are the favorites in the NFC West. The Bills are the favorites in the AFC East.
Seattle's throwing rocks at the screen right now. What do we have to do? We beat them 2 out of 3 times, and we just won a Super Bowl. You're telling me the Rams are favorite over us? Fine, great, That's it. Fine.
I also think you can make the case they have the best head coach in football right now.
In Mike Macdonald. We haven't even said his name yet. We're 47 minutes in. Let's talk about him.
It feels like a new era in the NFL, and Mike Macdonald
How
leading
so?
the charge. Because you're watching this head coach that is a defensive-minded head coach, so they have these old-school defensive principles with physicality and blocking and tackling, while also being X's and O's scheme diverse. And so there's this perfect combination. Is he the next Bill Parcells or Tony Dungy or Mike Tomlin or Bill Cowher, where this defensive-led head coach and organization is now once again reigning in the NFC and certainly in the NFL?
I think what I'm hearing from Dan, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, is like it comes back to foundational things in that when football was first started, like you were a football player, and we got more and more specialized. And I think this defense has done a different thing where they've gotten a little bit more general, and these guys are really good at a lot of different things. The flexibility is what makes it simple for them, and then it's complex for the defense because of what they're doing. And I'll push back on one thing that you said, Dan, is that it's like bringing in a new era. Like, no, the best coaches in football have been defensive coaches. So, like, that's not new.
No, the only point I was making with that was, like, it felt like 6 or 8 years ago it was the offensive coaches leading the way. And now it feels like, last year with Philadelphia.
So, like, in a scheme standpoint, this offseason is going to be the offensive coaches trying to figure out what to do with these defenses that they're seeing now, when it hasn't been like that in a while.
He was the last coach hired of that cycle, and there were several. He was the last one. He didn't play college football, didn't play pro football. And he makes them hit in OTAs. He makes them hit in training camp. Like, it's a different approach, and he's a different type of archetype than we've seen.
He now becomes the 3rd youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl. The other 2, younger than him, were Mike Tomlin and Sean McVay. And I don't remember the last time that a head coach got less attention, less discussion than Mike Macdonald during this Super Bowl run. People haven't talked about him. They haven't acknowledged him. We're talking about him here. However many minutes into the show, we're 49 minutes into the show.
It's because y'all hate defense, that's why.
and it may just be, but he is one of these great young coaches. And by the way, back to John Schneider, Mike Macdonald's wife was a cheerleader in Washington. Her family was from Washington. He flew out across the country to Seattle, and the reason he took the Seattle job over Washington, which was calling him, was because his belief in John Schneider and the team he could
Well, let's make the bigger picture point here, though. They hired Mike Macdonald. Every NFL team is trying to hire the young Sean McVay. Literally every team in the NFL is just trying to clone Sean McVay. They want to put him into a copier and spit out copies of him, and they just keep hiring guys who look like him and coach like him and do what he does.
That's the problem. Like, you have to find the new guy, because nothing about Mike Macdonald feels like he's not super personable in the way that Sean McVay is. Like, different guys coach and have success in different ways. The idea that you can follow someone else's blueprint, I think, is the fool's errand. You find a guy who's authentic and legitimate leader, you give him the support that he needs.
Neither Mike Macdonald or Clint Kubiak are going to be hosting like Jimmy Kimmel anytime soon.
That's probably true.
This is it.
But they have the most important trophy at the end of the season. I'm going to lose you here because you have to run in a little bit. Let me ask you, As there cause for concern about the Patriots coming out of this playoff run, I'm going to say this about Drake Maye. He was the runner-up for MVP. He was the second youngest quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl. He had a brilliant year, and for all we know, his shoulder was really bothering him last night. He played 4 great defenses in this postseason and really struggled. The Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos, and now the Seahawks. What are the right things to say about him coming out of this season?
This is just the beginning. And last night does not even register for me when it comes to thinking about what New England accomplished this year. They were ahead of schedule. The reality was Seattle was exactly where they were supposed to be. New England was where they weren't supposed to be. This was a year where they established a foundation of we're back. Their young quarterback is going to be a superstar. He's going to be very near the top of the MVP list to start next season. They have to add some pieces on their offensive line, no doubt about it. But this is just the beginning. And if you've just watched Drake Maye over the last 2 weeks, 2 things have stood out. One, he looks like he's 15.
Yeah.
He's still a puppy.
Yeah.
So where he's just starting to hit his stride. 2, he is wired the exact right way for a franchise quarterback. They aren't going to go anywhere. New England's going to be in the story for the next decade.
Yeah, I think he's been excellent so far this season. I'm a little concerned about what we've seen in the playoffs because it was his first chance, but I think you're right. Part of this is experience that most players at this level on a team with this ability, they aren't going to get because they aren't going to be fortunate enough to advance in 3 games, all of which their offense played well enough to lose. And I think you're right about him looking so young. Like, we see this with all the quarterbacks, especially when they come in the league. They look a little funny. They figure out their haircut. Then all of a sudden, they're a lot more sophisticated. He ain't even got the haircut
He got
figured
no
out
money yet for
He
it.
ain't got the haircut
Let him
figured out
get
yet.
some money.
Once he figures out the haircut, he's going to figure out the playoffs.
Figure out his haircut.
Eventually.
It didn't take him that long. Here's the thing about the Patriots in general. They got more snaps out of rookies than any team that ever made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So all this ahead of schedule stuff, I completely agree with. It's not a team that anyone expected to be here. They won 4 games last year.
Yeah, but
the only thing I'll say is I'm old enough to remember when Dan Marino, who was 35 days younger than Drake Maye is, went to the Super Bowl, and I remember thinking, oh, he's going to get back here 5 more times.
20 years later, Joe Burrow was the same guy. Oh, we're going to see him every year. I think he's been to the playoffs 1 time since.
And I'm going to bet money right now that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to be a little bit motivated next year to bounce back. I think this is a chance to take down Buffalo. Buffalo will be back next year.
New England next year goes to Chicago, to Kansas City, to Detroit, to the Chargers, to Seattle, to Jacksonville, gets Green Bay and Denver home. Outside of adding in,
We were saying all the same stuff
Yes.
about Jaden Daniels last year.
Yeah.
Oh, just wait till next year. Guys, it is a year-to-year league, and you cannot put in anything in pen. You said Marino, I said Burrow. You can go through the list of 20 different young quarterbacks who didn't get back there.
Yeah, that's why there's no such thing as house money, especially in pro football. One more thing I want to show you, Orlovsky, before I have to let you go to First Take, in particular for you with your particular eating habits. They were selling this $180 burger yesterday. They brought it to our set. This was Jason Kelsey. That's blue cheese, by the way.
Gets all over his
and a variety of different
blue
kinds
cheese
of meat.
is disgusting.
Would you?
So
So the answer is no. You would not have eaten that.
no shot. Blue cheese is moldy cheese.
Does anyone on our set look at that and think, boy, that looks delicious?
I can tell you this. When we left the stadium after the pregame show, Greeny would have eaten 10 of those if he could have, because that's how hungry he was.
I was quite hungry, and even then I would not have eaten that. But there were people doing
When
it. All
I
right.
was walking through the stadium, everyone had one of those. Everybody in the stadium.
Schrager and Orlovsky are going off to do First Take. Awesome. The rest of the crew jumps back in here as we continue.